Time for the 49ers Rush Podcast. And here's your host, John Chapman.
Hey, what is going on, faithful? I'm coming to you live from Levi's, just in a little recording tent to kind of block out the noise and all those things. Was at training camp today. Had a blast. I know I haven't been at training camp near as much as we have been in the past. Just focusing on some family home stuff and whatever else, which is all fine. But today was interesting, no doubt about it. Fun practice, right in front of us. And so got a lot of really good views on team and, was just an absolute blast. Got to catch up with a lot of, people that were there. And it was a really good time. Probably one of the most shocking things is the roster cuts that took place right as practice was starting. The kicker, quote unquote, competition. And I see a lot of the comments already, really big on Jake Moody. Yeah, Greg Joseph has been cut, which a few things I want to say. This was never a real competition. Never was. Whenever you have the new special teams coordinator come in and talk just glowing remarks about Jake Moody and how high they were on him during the draft process and how every team in the NFL had him as the number one kicker and all those different things, that's fine. But yeah, you didn't even bring in the top free agent kicker that was available. You brought in the cheapest. And even though he outkicked and had a better kicking field goal percentage and outperformed him, didn't matter. This was never a competition. And number two, like the nuance take is this. I totally get it. I was talking with Raj of RSF Niners in the stands, and I was like, I guarantee you Shanahan's going to say they didn't have the luxury of carrying two kickers with all the injuries and all the stuff that's happening. That is exactly what Kyle just said at the podium, which I was waiting to see his justification for that. And I think that's right. Whenever you have so many guys missing time at the wide receiver and corner position alone, you want to throw in, O-linemen, you want to throw in defensive. Like, there are just a lot of injuries that are out there. And so, if we just look at real quick, the players that were cut, Greg Joseph, the kicker cut, Jake Moody's going to be the guy. Isaiah Nayer, that one was a, pretty big, shocking. A lot of people really like those high-end, super freak athlete, 6'4", whatever else. Kyle Shanahan values consistency and special teams. And those are just two areas that Nayer has not participated in. I know a lot of people are like, oh, Nayer's going to be the number 5 wide receiver. And I'm just like, no. And, I would argue not only the same people that loved Isaiah Nayer were the same people that loved Mason Pline last year as well. And no shot against Mason Pline, but he got cut as well. That's who I wanted to win the tight end 3 job because I thought he had the most upside. But they're looking for consistency. They're looking for special teams. And whenever those two players don't offer anything in the special teams arena, it just makes it really hard. And yeah, roster numbers, that is kind of, it matters. It really, really does. And special teams matters and injuries matter. And so, Isaiah Nayer gets cut. Tanner Mordecai gets cut. I know some people were talking about how he's going to be pushing Mac Jones. God, no. Just no. Now, they did sign Bradley Anae, defensive end, Isaiah Prince, offensive tackle. Jalen Mahoney gets brought back. Jair Brown was out today. Again, I think he's missed a couple practices in a row. You had to get those safety numbers up. And then Fabian Moreau, probably my favorite corner, one of the most recent additions that I really liked. I thought that was a great pickup. We'll have to see how he panned out. Didn't get a lot of reps today, but you've got to get those roster minimum numbers up to run through drills and team. Otherwise, you're flirting with hamstrings, which you have so many soft tissue injuries out there. Now, you did get a lot of players back. Diamondor Lenore was back in practice and chirping all those things. Didn't take part in team in one-on-one drills, but he was out there in team. Looked awesome. Jordan James is back. Corey Kiner's back. So, you're getting a lot of these kind of bodies back. Etergros Matos was working out on the sideline. Looked incredible. No knee brace. He's had the same knee injury 3 times to the same knee since he's been on the Niners. Planning hard, running hard. I think he's a couple days from returning. We'll have to see how his knee responds to today's, but he was working harder than anybody on the field. and like really looked the part, looked good. So I think that's really promising. I fully do. Again, depends on how his knee responds tomorrow, but I think he's probably 2 to 3 days away from being activated and brought off of the pup, which is gigantic news because he's probably your number three defensive end. If you want to talk about Bryce Huff and all those things, that's fine as well. You want to, but from a pass rush standpoint, Bryce Huff, sure. From an every down standpoint, that's going to allow you to kind of bring Mikael Williams, your first round pick, along at pace that is comfortable with. Right now, he's being forced in there, and he's out there with the starters, and he's getting lots of reps. I did want to talk about the starting defense today, the first team defense. Your starting corners were Dallas Flowers and Diamador Lenore. I thought that was Dallas Flowers seems to have won the job over Darrell Luter. And, I'll talk about this a little bit later during 101s. Whoever goes against Darrell Luter Jr. has a phenomenal, amazing separation. Just he can't do. I don't know. I wouldn't be shocked if he gets cut. One of the worst practices I've seen, and that's kind of the killer. One of the killers. Now, sticking with that starting defense, you have Mikael Williams and Bryce Huff out there as your defensive ends, and then you have Jordan Elliott and Kalia Davis getting reps with the ones over the rooks. And you had, Alfred Collins come in and CJ West come in with the twos, with Evan Anderson and a couple other guys mix them in. Linebackers, Fred Warner and D Winters, that's your 1-2. And Luke Gifford, who had a good practice, just constantly where he's supposed to be, gets to his reads, can correct anybody out there on the defense, like knows what he's doing. I'm telling you right now, like Gifford is going to be a part of this defense. He just does what they want to do. In special teams, he'll be on everything. In your two safeties, you had Richie Grant and Jason Pinnock. That was your starting defense out there. And so I just think it's a big deal. The defensive tackle room is kind of a run by platoon right now. And I think it's just going to stay that way. I didn't think Alfred Collins had a bad practice by any stretch, but a lot of the comments that I'm seeing from, beat reporters and whatever are talking about how bad he is in pass rush. Alfred Collins is not a pass rusher yet. That's not why you drafted him in the second round. You drafted him because of the run defense, which he got to run stuff and team. Him and CJ West together was awesome. So, like, I would say just kind of chill out a little bit with like understand what he does. He's not going to win one-on-ones. He's not going to win. That's not what he does. He's a team defensive run stuffer. That's why you drafted him. Shout out to Ben here. He says, John, how did special teams look? It was cool seeing special teams get reps. Yeah, I I did every training camp practice last year, and it would just disgust me. My stomach would be upset watching Brian Schneider talk to 60 players at one time and get 2 to 3 reps in 20 minutes. They worked kickoff today, in special teams team, and yeah, so many reps. They broke up an individual, so many reps. Like that's what you got to do in the NFL, and so that is exciting. So that is gigantic, and you could just see the difference in coaching technique and kind of all these different things that are being brought about because it's just like, yeah, you're doing right. Jennings did not see Jennings at all out there. Saw a lot of people. Saw Richard Sherman. We saw Alex Smith out there. We saw Brandon Ayuk was coaching him up on the sidelines. Did not see Jawan Jennings if he was out there. Not saying he wasn't. I didn't see him, but I was trying to pay attention as much as possible. Just to the players that were playing and were out there. And a lot of positives. I'm just going to be honest with you. Patrick Taylor took reps with the ones and looked clean. I know Patrick Taylor Jr. is not sexy and like the young running back and whatever else. Kyle Shanahan trusts him. Brock Purdy trusts him. And his runs and team were great. There was a busted coverage on defense on one of the team plays. He caught it wide open in the flats and nobody was within 20 yards of him. And, George Kittle wasn't in on that rep and he's running around behind the offense, holding his helmet up, holding his hands up, dancing, how open Patrick Taylor was. Like he's just going to do exactly what you want done from a veteran standpoint. And with Isaac Grendo didn't practice again today. Like, Kyle Shanahan said his shoulder, he's going to be out for a while. There's not even any contact out there. I don't know how his shoulder got hurt. And I'm not trying to belittle the fact, like it sucks. Injuries suck, period. But with one of the most injury riddled players on this team, one of the most injury riddled players that you've drafted in the past 3 years combined, hamstring, foot, shoulder, hamstring, ankle, like just since he's been here. And whenever he finally gets a chance to get work, a shoulder injury that happened on special teams practice, like It's just it's Elijah Mitchell 2.0, and yeah, he's a good player. That's great, but best ability, availability, and if you can't, like, he should have been getting starting snaps today. Instead, Patrick Taylor's out there, Corey Kiner's out there, Amir Abdullah looked great in team and special teams. He's back there filling punts. He's doing all the work. Like, guys are passing you because you're not getting reps. And now he's going to be missing, Shanahan said, I believe it was like a week or more. He's going to miss some time, I believe is what he said. Um, and so didn't see too much of CMC out there. So yeah, it did not see CMC really out there. Didn't see Bosa out there. Didn't see a lot of kind of Trent Williams out there. Those types of guys, like they were out there for a little bit, but like not a lot of individual work, not a lot of teamwork, not a lot of one-on-ones. The 49ers are being careful with kind of their all pro whatevers. Now, Fred Warner was out there nonstop. George Kittle was out there nonstop. Outside of that, everybody, Brock Purdy, obviously, but he's got the quarterback protected jersey on. So, yeah, we'll see there. Now, I don't want to go this far. I do not think Garindo is in danger of being released, at all. Like, they are going to rely on him, but proceed with caution because you're going to have to carry 5 running backs if Garindo's one of them because he's going to be there one week, gone the next. I think he's had 6 injuries since he's been on the 49ers, and that sucks. And like, I don't want that to happen. I don't want him to be injured. It's just they need reps, and so they need reps. It's what it is. So no Jair Brown was out there. Your punt returners today were Andy Isabella, Amir Abdullah, Jordan Watkins, and Junior Bergen. No Ricky Pearsall working with the punt return at all, which I thought was interesting. And Watkins, I think, had a really good practice, but he had 3 drops. He had 1 punt return drop and 2 drops out there, but separation's great. Still getting stuffed at the line of scrimmage, not very strong off the line of scrimmage, but gets good separation. The speed is there. Like, dude looks good. Now, talking wide receivers, definitely I'd probably say one of the better practices today. If you had to like say, okay, this guy had the best. Ricky Pearsall was fire. I think he caught pretty much everything except for one team drill. Upton Stout kind of laid him out. I was worried because Ricky Pearsall was a little slow to get up, but he was fine. He just got up and kind of walked back. It was a throw on the flats, little late from the quarterback read as an outlet pass. Upton jumped it and just ran. Upton Stout is for real. But Ricky Pearsall cooking everybody in one-on-ones. One of the first big plays of team, it was a deep drag. I mean, he was wide open by 20-plus yards the entire route. Good throw. I think it was Mack that hit him on the deep crosser, but yeah, Ricky Pearsall is for real. You just got to stay healthy. You just got to stay healthy. And so, when Upton Stout ran through him, I was just like, whoa, what are you doing? Do not do that. Please do not do that because we got to keep this guy healthy. Demarcus Robinson, those are your 2 wide receivers right now. If you want to, like, during team with the ones, it was a lot of 12 personnel. 1 back, Patrick Taylor Jr., 2 tight ends, right? George Kittle and Luke Farrell. And then your 2 wide receivers were Ricky Pearsall and Demarcus Robinson. Demarcus Robinson he's awesome. Like, he's everything that you want in a vet. Just gets the job done every time. And, he had one play where he streamed it was a seam route, completely just ghosted the coverage. I mean, it would have been a walk-in touchdown, but the quarterback read was to the right, and didn't see just the open busted seam route, and it would have been a walk-in touchdown for however many yards you wanted. Like, just busted coverage, which I don't like seeing the busted coverage. I think there were 2 today, and so that last year with Nick Sorensen, it was every game. Saw 2 of those today, and that's the issue. But I did walk away just saying, man, if Ricky Pearsall's healthy, big if, and Demarcus Robinson does not get suspended, man, that's not a terrible 1-2 punch. Now, you've got to have somebody be the 3. And I know a lot of people have been saying Russell Gage would be the 3. Today was not a good practice for Russell Gage. Isaiah Hodgins definitely had a much better day than he did. And, the body language wasn't great either for Russell Gage. Had a couple drops. It was not a great day. But Isaiah Hodgins was balling out. So the wide receiver position, we'll have to see what happens there. Tariq Owens, man, walk-off field, like 80-yard touchdown. Perfect pass from Carter Bradley, which I got to be honest with you, the last pass of the day, which was, just a fade route, Carter Bradley dropped in the bucket perfectly. I was talking to, I think it was Raj or Rob Louder, but I was like, dude, this is the worst quarterback practice I've ever seen from a quarterback ever. And like, I was here for the Trey Lance days and whatever else. But then Carter Bradley kind of redeemed himself with a walk-off 80-yard touchdown strike on a fade route. But Carter Bradley, like, he was not within 5 yards of anybody. Late on his reads. It was a rough day for the team nepotism. Anyway, now I've got some more notes that I want to get to right after this.
Hey, Niner faithful, if you're looking for tickets to see the 49ers play this season, TickPick is the destination for the best deals you'll find on tickets with absolutely no hidden fees. TickPick guarantees the best price on tickets to every NFL game and beyond. Download the TickPick app and use code NINERS, NINERS, at checkout to save $10 on your first order. Again, that's code NINERS. Get your tickets ready today to cheer on the team with the rest of the 49ers Rush community, and all of our events for the 49ers Rush road trip are sold exclusively on the TickPick app or tickpick.com. Just search 49ers Rush.
All right, I like this comment right here from Leon Sandcastle. Should they bring in a better kicker than Joseph to continue competing with Moody, Matt Gay? There are guys out there. There are always guys out there. But when you have to protect so many of your veteran players, whenever you have so many guys that are injured, I totally understand just from a roster construction number standpoint. Dude, you can't practice the way you want to practice without numbers. And so having two kickers and like today, not one kick was attempted. Jake Moody, number 4, is just walking around. Yeah, he's working, in individual and stuff. But even when they were practicing kickoffs, they're using the jugs machine. You have your punter Morstead and Jake Moody standing behind the jugs machine with their hands on their hips. So that's two guys just taking up space. Now you can't cut your punter and you can't cut your kicker, but like you're going to add another spot to that, and have 3 guys just sitting there doing nothing, contributing nothing all practice. From a number standpoint, it's hard. And I would just say, like, look, are we? Let's just roll with Moody until we can't roll with them anymore. And I hate that. I do not want Jake Moody to be a kicker. I would move on completely. But if you're going to keep Moody, like, it's better to do what they're doing right now than having a fake competition. And the fact that you cut Greg Joseph, who had made more field goals than Jake Moody beforehand, hey, no problem. Like, just be honest with yourself and the team. Like, there's no reason to carry 2 kickers if it was never a competition, and it wasn't. Clearly, if it was, then Greg Joseph would be here today instead of Jake Moody. So, like, I think being honest with yourself and kind of helping just the actual numbers on the roster is important. And so I think they're doing that now. So I'll take that. But yeah, if you get a couple guys back healthy, then yeah, because you do not want to have your season rely on Jake Moody, but it's kind of what you're setting yourself up for. And so that's kind of where it is. Thomas, John is the coach at heart. Shanahan literally just said the same thing about carrying 2 kickers. Like, I'm telling you, I've coached high school ball. It's nothing like this. It's completely nothing like this. But I've been in meetings where you have a couple injuries at a defensive end or a linebacker, and you're like, dude, I don't have linebackers. Like, I have one guy running through practice with the first team, second team, third team. Like, I have to have something. You have 20 wide receivers. What are we doing? Give me your third string wide receiver that's not scared of contact, and let's put, like, you have to fight for those numbers. And if you don't, like, that's where the soft tissues come in from. So learn your lessons with all these injuries that are happening to these young guys and protect them, because let's be honest, like, the guys that you brought in today is Bradley and May or Isaiah Prince or Jalen Mahoney, who was cut a week ago. Fabian, are any of those guys making the 53? No. And was Greg Joseph going to make the 53? No, absolutely not. So look, let's just have an honest conversation with where we are at and with what we are expecting, and let's try to move forward in a constructive way. We got to protect these guys, and so let's get them out there. So if we're going to have CMC practice every other day and Trent Williams once a week and Nick Bosa every other day, like, you've got to start to do these. And whenever you have all these pup NFI, guys that you're holding out just because, oh, we're trying to play it safe and he could have gone this week, but we're just going to give him more time. You can't do that. You just can't do that. Logan, we better score lots of touchdowns this year to avoid Moody getting on the field. And that's a dangerous place to operate from, especially when you have the highest drafted kicker in the NFL on your roster. But I think that's just where you're going to kind of have to be. The offense did look really, really good. And I get people are upset, and I'm upset. Like, y'all remember me whenever we drafted Jake Moody in the 3rd round? That's the dumbest damn thing you could ever do. But it's not so much of a sunk cost fallacy. It's like, okay, if you do cut Jake Moody right now and signed, I don't know, Matt Gay, whoever's out there. I don't follow kickers very closely, but the ceiling on Jake Moody is there. And from a player that would have never, ever drafted a kicker or punter ever in the draft, never once, not even the 7th round, you are where you are. Maybe the change in approach and mindset is where you want it to be. And maybe he just snaps forward and pressure's no longer going to get to him. You just kind of move forward with that. And I don't think that's the worst thing that you can do. There's a lot bigger issues on this roster. But today was a fun day. It was a really, really good practice. And I thought, the team definitely got better. I'm pretty pumped about McCorkle Jones. Never thought I'd say that. I think he's the best number 2 quarterback the 49ers have had since Shanahan's been here. I don't even think it's close. Now, if you want to put in the whole Brock Purdy and, Jimmy G or Trey Lance year or whatever else, that's cool. But the fact that you have Mac Jones locked down for 2 years, that dude throws such a clean ball. He had a couple passes that were just on the nose, deep crossers, difficult passes, like level 10-degree passes that were just there. Brock Purdy looks quick, efficient, dumping the ball, getting the ball out quick. Anytime George Kittle's in there, he's throwing to George Kittle. Like, the offense is operating very smoothly. And like, I really enjoyed watching it. Just there's a lot more calmness and poise and just, yeah, this is what we're going to do from an offensive standpoint. And so the identity just seems to be there right now. And it's just, and again, no CMC, no Brandon Ayuk, no Jawan Jennings, no Trent Williams, but it's just smooth. It's frictionless, kind of how it's going. It's not like every play was a touchdown or whatever, but the offense is just operating. And like, I cannot recall a time watching team 11 on 11s against our ones and just be like, yeah, there were a few times where it was like, yeah, that probably would have been a sack. It was close to a sack or whatever else. Or, they're not taking players down to the ground, but it's just like, oh, like, this is good offense. Like, it's just, you're seeing the checkdowns, tight end screens to Kittle, nice run, inside, outside. You've got some counter. Like, I just felt today, I was like, man, this is a good offensive game plan. And it's just, everything's flowing. And you don't really even notice, like, the question, like, in the stance was like, was that Brock or Matt? Like, it's just flowing with the quarterbacks. Now, you could tell when Gus Bradley was in there. Good Lord, not Gus Bradley, his son. Sorry, I apologize. That was rough. Some really bad quarterback play. But the team is the practice was good. I don't know. I've been a coach and I've been a part of a lot of bad practices and good practices. And when you walk off, today was a good practice. I think offense and defense were both in there, just like, yeah, this was a positive. So I was pretty pumped about today. So I'm gonna wrap this up. I want to get home, type up some notes, get some countdown videos done. But man, I'm pumped, and not that it's like, oh, we're going to the Super Bowl or anything like that. We've had some slow starts here to the season. I'm feeling a lot more confident about week 1 after watching today's practice. I'm going to be very, very honest. And so hopefully you guys are pumped. Special teams is actually coached. Defense is actually coached. I'm pumped about this. And I know it's a short video, but I just want to say thank you guys. Appreciate all y'all do. And as always, stay strong, faithful.